when you're young, you just feel like everything's about you, like, oh man, they're hating on me, or oh, people this, or everyone's against me. This, no one's even thinking about you, bud. You're your own worst enemy, right? So when you can eliminate, that mental drag that you're holding on to about yourself and about, whatever attitudes it is, everything's so much easier. And then you can really strip apart and look at, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Where do I need to improve? Where am I good? And what a refreshing thing, right? Because then you can really make progress.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Fitz Nation. As always, I am very grateful that you hit the play button. My guest on this show today is the veteran MMA coach and my really good friend, Sayif Saud. Now, we work together on a show called UFC Breakdown, where we dive into the details of championship fights, and I have learned so much from Sayif just watching him break down film on some of these great UFC athletes. So I hope you check that out. You can find that on YouTube on the UFC's page. But for this show, of course, it's about deeper conversations with people in the MMA and UFC world. And Sayif Saud is a regular on my show, not only because he's a good friend, but because he is a great conversationalist. Whether you're in a rut, you're stuck with something, you're trying to find some help on something, he's great at getting you out of it. Or if things are going really well and you want a high five, he will boost you even higher and he will give you more confidence to run faster and jump higher at whatever you're chasing. So he's just a great person to talk to. And I tend to like to touch base with him and people like that where I can talk about life with in January at the turn of the new year, especially after a long break where we've had 4 to 6 weeks to kind of stop down before the 2024 UFC schedule fires back up. So it was great to chat with Sayif. We talk a lot about Ego is the Enemy, a book that I read every January. It's by Ryan Holiday. I highly recommend you read it once, if not more than once. I think I've read it like 4 times now. But it's really great at centering me when I, have a stretch where I can kind of pull back, be quiet, think about life a little bit, think about where I'm at in my life, think about what's important to me, both with my family, with me, mentally and physically. So we talk a lot about that and then kind of about what we hope to accomplish in 2024 and really what we've learned over the years and decades of living a life in terms of what's important. I hope you enjoyed the chat.
Welcome back to Fitz Nation, my good friend. Sayif Saud is on the show.
How are we doing, boss?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
It's great to see you. To kind of kick off 2024, we just recorded our show, UFC Breakdown.
UFC, break it down.
All right, I want to start with you on what you did on the break and more specifically what it allows you to do from a mind space thing. Because when we get to unplug for like 6 weeks, and I know that you've been like working in the gym and stuff like that, but not having fights scheduled and not going to UFC events and things like that, it's got to allow you a little bit more perspective on the bigger picture.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't been home for that long since I opened the gym, probably about 5 years.
Wow.
And it was really refreshing, man, just being home, being able to spend time with my kids, being able to be in the gym, with my guys and girls and train them. And we've had a really great practices, really good focus. And I just think that it's important sometimes for you to be home, and spend time with your family and just take care of the things that you need to take care of. So it's always good to recharge. I didn't get 6 weeks. I've been grinding pretty hard, but not having to travel was great for sure.
What did it? Where do you find your mind going when you have prolonged periods of time?
I'm
where it's not go, next thing.
Man, I'm I turned 43 in September, and I'm just really working on becoming more efficient every day at everything. I really kind of think that aging is really just about getting better at everything, right? Physically, you might wear down a little, but mentally, you can keep that acuity going. The things that you spend time in. I've been reading a lot more. I really feel like, my dad reads 3 books a week, right? Oh. This guy, my brother too, they're really scholarly. He's a professor. University of Chicago, PhD. these guys are smarter than me, right? I'm the meathead of the group, but I still got a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a lot and just trying to stay a student all the time. Like I told you last time, I think it keeps life fun when you're constantly engaged in learning something. It keeps it fun. You know, you're excited to see what's next and whatever that is. And if you keep that process going, I think that you end up pretty well balanced. And that's really what I'm doing, is just trying to get better every day.
What have you been reading?
I don't read any fiction. Zero.
Yeah.
So everything I read is nonfiction.
Right.
I've been reading about all kinds of stuff, learning about all kinds of things. I got on a radio kick last month, was learning all this stuff about radios and just the way that the antennas and waves and how what does what. I was just
like the technology.
Yeah, just amazed by it. I started reading it, and I went like a 2-week, journey on learning about all these things. And you know what? And then I'll move to something else. But now I know some shit about radios.
Mm-hmm.
And I always do that. I'll kind of peel into something. I'll be like, that's cool, man. It's just always interesting to me. I've got a passion for learning, just to keep learning about things.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously MMA, we're always learning. The sport is always evolving. But I just think as a human being, you've got to keep striving to keep improving. And again, keep learning new things.
How do you continue to learn in a field where you're such an expert, right? Like as a coach and as a fighter, I mean, you've been a lifer, like judo. Your dad owned a dojo, right?
Since I was 3.
So to have 40 years in the game now.
40. Straight up, 40 years. I mean,
because a book that I read every January, like I'm almost through it again. I've read this book like 4 times, but it's my book that I read every January. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
That's great.
Right? It's a great book.
Brandon Moreno has that tattooed on his arm.
He has Ego is the Enemy tattooed. So does Ryan Holiday, that author.
Yep.
He tattooed it on his arm. And I'm struck by this year how when I read it back is different parts of the book are speaking to me than previously. I'm like, oh, previously, because this was an issue for me. And now this year, this is the issue for me.
That's great insight by you.
And it goes, and also in the world of prize fighting, to read a book anti-ego is quite refreshing.
But
where I'm just like, I can now pick at all of the ways that people are almost holding themselves back while thinking they're pushing themselves forward.
I mean, you nailed it, but we go back to Brandon Moreno. I mean, is Brandon Moreno tough? I mean, is that kid tough? He's such a sweet kid, and he has no ego at all, because at some point he figured that out. Ego is the end. We all figured that out. We all have egos.
Well, not everybody figures it out.
You're right, but
especially in this business,
most people do. It just depends on what age they figure it out.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that, once you realize that you're not a big fucking deal, and the movie's not all about you, and you're not the starring character, when you're young, you just feel like everything's about you, like, oh man, they're hating on me, or oh, people this, or everyone's against me, this. No one's even thinking about you, bud. And you're your own worst enemy, right? So when you can eliminate, that mental drag that you're holding on to about yourself and about, whatever attitudes it is that, you're taking on and honestly making up in your own head, everything's so much easier. And then you can really strip apart and look at, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Where do I need to improve? Where am I good? And what a refreshing thing, right? Because then you can really make progress when you're honest with yourself. So I think you nailed it. Being a fighter is hard. I fought MMA. It's like you got to feel like you're tough and you're ready, and that like no matter who comes your way, you're gonna take care of business. But on the same end, obviously you've got thoughts in your head. Man, I don't want to get knocked out. I hope this happens. I hope my knee holds up, right? Like I fought 2 fights with a torn ACL, and I had to brace it and tape it and do all this crap. I was so worried about my knee the whole time. So you've got to try to control your mind and be confident, but also be honest with yourself, which is a really hard balance when you're a 26-year-old, 25-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why we see some of these guys, kind of getting away from themselves a little bit, but it's just they're growing up in front of the world, and that's not always easy to do.
Yeah. Something for me, like I think it's easy to say ego is the enemy and don't have an ego. And I think instead of it being a binary thing, either you have an ego and it runs wild or you don't and you're a good person to work with, I think it's on a spectrum, and it's like, where's my ego at now?
Yeah.
Is it at a 7 now
true.
because I'm kind of looking outward?
Yeah.
Or am I at like a 3 because I'm just like looking inward and trying to focus on me? How do you find that? Because you're not in the public eye of the fighter, but we show you on TV. Like you're hosting a show, UFC Breakdown, and Coach's Cam, brought to you by Cuervo. Here's Sayif Saud, and like you get some time, and there's people that will applaud you for what you do for your fighters and bring them to a championship setting and that sort of thing. So how do you balance when it starts spiking a little bit, maybe?
I think that man, I just feel so blessed. God's taking me down the long road. I've told you that, man. When I was young, I tell this story. I got on a bus once. Greg Jackson was my coach.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible coach, incredible MMA mind. And I got on a bus when I first started coaching. This is probably like 2010 or something. I don't remember, 11. And he was on the bus. And I said, hey, coach. I still call him coach. I sat next to him. I said, man, coach, I've been reflecting on when I was your student because now I'm the coach.
You mean on like a shuttle bus from an event? Or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, my attitude and the way I thought, and I was like, yeah, I got it. Like I listened, but I didn't listen to the details. And as we always say now, and Greg said, the devil's in the details. And so I was like, man, Greg, my mindset, I just thought I was the man. He goes, you were exactly how you needed to be at that time. When you're a fighter, you need to be confident. You can't doubt yourself in there. He said, you were just the way you needed to be. And he goes, and you always won, right? And I was like, yeah. But I again, learned from him, like, guys got to be confident, right? So when your fighter's confident, you want to see that. As far as me, ego about what? Like, I think after you fight MMA and you go in there and you know how much risk you're putting in and how much is on the line, it's kind of hard to have an ego about anything else. Like, okay, I'm standing there talking about fighting, but I'm not fighting. To me, being a coach is the secondary position. It isn't the primary position.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'm here to make everybody else better. I'm here to improve these young guys. I'm here to connect with the audience and the fans and, kind of be a mentor and a liaison for MMA and martial arts. But it's not about me, Sure, I really get a lot of love, a ton of love from people on social media. When I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Get it together. Everyone's like, man, you're so honest, like the way you are with your guys. But to me, it's just me telling them what they need to hear in that moment. It's not about me. So the ultimate success would be if they all win all the time in the first round, and I don't even get on that Cuervo cam. I don't even have to say anything.
Right.
That's the ultimate success because their success is my success. So I just think at 43, I'm just past all that. Maybe in my 20s, I wanted it, and in my 30s, maybe a little bit it was there. But now as a father and, and a husband and a guy that's owned his own gym now for, 7.5 years, I'm just at a different place. And I think it's a great place to be. And I'm appreciative of that journey myself, of my own ego.
Do you remember any experiences where the shift was happening? Because
I do.
Go ahead.
No, I absolutely do. Not giving a shit what you look like when you walk outside of the house. I remember, right? And Curtis is laughing right here because he shaves his head. He's gonna like this. I remember my coach, Mike Van Arsdale, Coach Van, my guy, my wrestling coach, national champion, badass dude, right? He shaves his head. And Greg too. And they would come to the gym and their shit would be like, they wouldn't shave their head for like a week, and they would just have the sunroof, right?
Yeah.
Just the sunroof, which I got now, the sunroof. And they wouldn't do anything. They let all the hair grow, right? Kind of like Curtis did on the break. They let all the hair grow. And I remember being like, why is this dude not just shave that up? Like, why doesn't he come out here looking clean? Like, come on, man. Like, just quick shave right before practice. Like, no big deal. Dude, I'm that guy now. I go to practice, right? I haven't shaved my head for a week or whatever, and my guys, Ramez Brahima, he knows. He's like, Coach, you got to line that stuff up, man. Like, let me get you faded up here. I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I'm not here to impress you. My mind is on what we're trying to get done. My mind is on the guys. My mind is on winning. And I'm not saying don't look good, don't suit up and boot up, right? I'm not saying that don't present yourself well, but when you start not, thinking like, oh, everyone's looking at me. How am I this? How am I that? And this started when I opened the gym, you know, in my mid 30s, I would say. And as I just naturally progressed and putting so much time and energy into seeing my guys and girls achieve, the more time and energy for myself or whatever I thought I was went away. So I replaced whatever ego and self fulfillment things that I had that was about me with giving to my guys and giving everything I had for them and really trying to get them over the top. And I think that's what aging is. You know, I think that in your 20s, you think you're the man. In your 30s, you kind of start figuring out this is everybody's journey, right? Like, it's not about you. And in your 40s, I think you start to give back those lessons and really kind of be a leader and a mentor. And if you have an ego, man, you can't lead. You know, people see it right away and are just like, dude, it's such a turn off. You know, me. No one cares. And again, as the fighter, I'm not the one fighting. So I need to make sure that I'm playing that support role as best way as I can. And I like doing that now in my 40s. I don't want it to be about me. My fucking knees hurt. My hands hurt. 8 surgeries. I'm not trying to have it be about me anymore. So I think it's just a natural progression. And I'll end with this. There's nothing worse than someone that ages poorly. I've seen it time and time again, being an athlete. Guys that talk about, oh, I used to do this, I used to do that, or they always suit up and try to kind of get back into practice and you're like, dude, like, what are you doing in the room? Like, you're gonna get hurt. Sure enough, what? Pop, you know, like, your time is done. And so be gracious, have class, and go into the next part of your life. And the next phases is the mental, right? And the mentorship and being a guy or a girl that people can learn from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when I started getting into my later 30s, I started to want to actively learn from people who are in their 40s.
Yeah.
Instead of see how I can hold on to my 30s and whatever.
Yeah.
And also, when you're not in an athletic endeavor like I am, my best years are still very much ahead of me.
Yeah.
And when you're an athlete and you're getting your late 30s, I can imagine the challenge.
It's
that you're
hard to deal with. When I had 6 fights, 3-0 amateur, 3-0 pro. It was good. I had Greg Jackson corner me, Rashad Evans. You know, I wanted to make my UFC debut, win 1 fight, and then retire and open a gym. So I was lucky enough to kind of still land in the right place, living my dream. But the first 2 years, tore my ACL, tore my biceps. I mean, all kinds of crap. The first 2 years, I was 28 when I retired. It was tough because I was in between a fighter's mindset and now a coach's. Mm-hmm. I was in between that selfish part about me being an athlete and how do I give and make guys better. So it's definitely been a process, but now at 43, man, I've been a head coach for 15 years now. Yeah, I mean, it's just honestly, I don't really think about it anymore. It kind of comes easy, and if I was to try to go back in the other direction and make it about me, I just think that'd be embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah, and it's I think people, I don't know, I have suffered even as recently. Like this, to me, this break was quite life-changing for me since calling fight in December and then coming back in the new year.
Great job on that fight, by the way. It was exciting.
Thank you. It was, UFC Austin was great. Yeah. And I don't know. I think MMA as a sport stokes the fires because everybody's talking about everybody, and sometimes and oftentimes in glowing terms.
Yeah.
So it becomes very intoxicating to just have like blogs written about you, like who's on the commentary this week. So it's like no other sport is there news articles on like who's on the commentary team and people treating it as a subject. So when I started calling fights for the UFC, I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah,
like,
how about me?
When
where's my call out? Where's
that's
my
what I
shout
mean.
out?
Like or no, not even that, but it's like I can't believe I'm getting this.
Yeah.
And then it feels good. It's like this little hit of like attention.
Yeah, a little.
And then you want more of it, especially when you're on TV. You kind of have to be okay with attention and thrive on it, which I do. But just recently, I'm just like, dude, like Jim Nance is not trying to get attention.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
just amazing.
Yeah. When you get to a certain point, and you're a couple years younger than me, and I mean, it's just so natural.
Yeah.
You just don't, you know who you are and what you are, and you really don't care who says what or when or how. Like, you're not even looking anymore. You know, Joe Rogan said, he said this to a bunch of people, and he's a really down-to-earth guy. You know, when you talk to him and you see him backstage, he has an immense respect for fighters that I don't think people understand. And being as famous as he is, he's really cool the way he is to everybody. And, you know, you hear that he doesn't take pictures with people and this and that. But whenever he's around fighters and whenever I see him backstage, he's just such a down-to-earth guy. And he says, I don't read the comments, man.
Yeah.
I don't read the comments. So, like, I don't read your comments, dude. Like, I don't have time to sit and look up and see, nor does it matter to me. You know, I want to be a vessel for positivity, for knowledge, for growth. I've been doing martial arts since I was 3 years old. You know, I'm 43 every single day of my life. My dad still has his dojo, 80 years old, still going to work every day. So this is the guy that I got to live up to.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So shout out to Pops. But it's not about anybody else. And I think when you get comfortable enough with yourself in that journey, like you said, you're Jim Nantz, you're Joe Rogan. You're not looking at the comments. You don't care. So I've really enjoyed aging lately. I don't know why. I mean, I just enjoy it because I think of that. I think I've let go of my own ego and I just don't care about those things anymore. And it's kind of a freeing thing.
My problem this time last year, January of 23, I was like, I'm gonna do this for my YouTube channel. I've got the podcast, like on social media, I got to do this much stuff. Hey, maybe I'll start a newsletter, get some email so that I can do this.
Yeah.
And this year I'm all about like, hey, you can't do, and a subject and ego is the enemy is like, look at all this stuff that I've been able to achieve. Now I want that too.
Yeah.
And that is to a certain point that then will drive you crazy.
You're right. And I think,
like we just talked about Pat McAfee at lunch and whatever.
Good old Pat Mac, the Mac Attack.
I'm sitting here as like an on-air personality, and I'm like, man, that looks fun to be that type of an on-air personality, right? And so I'm just like, what if I did that? And then what if I? And it's just like,
but see
look at
that,
and
but
it's
that,
like then
but,
you can't be good at anything.
But a couple things that I'll touch on. One is, man, things go in cycles, man, and being on the internet all the time and an influencer, all that stuff is on a down cycle because people are like, all right, already, dude.
Yeah,
I've seen you enough.
Way oversaturated.
Like, bro, I don't care. You can't see someone's face 17 times a day and want to see their face again. I mean, it's just the natural inclination of human beings. That's why in relationships sometimes you look at each other and go, I need some space. You know, like if you're with somebody all the time, you know, it's just natural. Mm-hmm. So I think that you're going to see a little bit of a downturn, and the cool kids are going to actually not be online. They're going to be like, I don't even fucking care about that, right? Like I'll post when I post and that's it.
That's one of my New Year's resolutions.
I know it is. So again, naturally, organically happening, right?
Yes.
You don't, and again, you know, all those people that have to make money online, this is a real thing, you know, like people do make money online.
Yeah.
There's businesses, but it's about, do you let it affect you? Is it touching you, right? Like you said, are you doing things that you wouldn't normally do for that attention? So I think we'll see a downturn in that, in people posting, because it's not cool anymore. It's annoying. It's just like, okay, dude, we get it, man. Second, what I would say is, you know, it's all about internal reflection, right? Like you're the one in charge of letting things bother you or not letting things bother you. And when you see everybody playing that game and doing this, that, and the other, you're like, well, maybe I'm not doing enough. But what I would say is, and I tell you this all the time, you're fucking good at TV, right? You're just naturally good at it.
Thank you.
I mean, you come in, right? You fucking throw the jacket on. I've been studying all night. I'm reading everything. You know, I write a fucking PDF honors thesis for every one of these things.
Yeah.
And I go in on it. And I need to do that so I can feel prepared. And maybe that's the coach in me or not. You come in, you're like, what's up, bro? Like, I'm like, man, you are really that good at TV. Why are you that good at TV?
Yeah,
because you've been doing it from fucking Missoula, Montana.
I wasn't
fucking
Casper, Wyoming.
Casper, Wyoming, McAllen, Texas.
Yep.
You've been all over the place, right? Shout out to your wife that had to deal with that.
Exactly.
You've done all that. That's like me in the amateur shit, and and all these years in the game, like you are that guy. So when it comes to TV, I never see you question anything. Like you're so confident. But now with the other things, you're comparing yourself.
Yes.
So what I would say is take that confidence that you have from TV, right? And just leave it alone. Like I know MMA because I've been doing it my whole life. There's other things I don't know. I have no problem asking somebody, but I try my best to not be influenced by the masses, especially now with so much stressors and influences and constantly in your face. I always tell people, watch what you put in your filter because you know, your brain, you've got to protect it. You've got to be careful what you take in. You got to be careful who you let in. And I think that's just something that we all have to do a better job as. We're all getting used to. This thing got put out in 2006, 2007. It's 2023, and it's completely changed the world, and we're all adjusting to it, I think. So,
yeah. So, to your point about all the other things. There's like a couple of factors is what made me go down this rabbit hole of I need to be my own personality. I need to have a YouTube channel. I need content. For fighters, I get it. They're just like, it's extra potential
That's it.
income
100%.
and revenue. And Ian Gary, like, I can be a good fighter. If I put my whole life out there, I can also get clicks.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you just go in all these different directions. So for me,
I think that kind of happened on accident for Ian Gary.
well, yeah, I just use him as an example because
Yeah.
he does have a lot of cameras following him around, and he chooses that.
And he's a kid.
Exactly,
Again,
right.
you know, when you see these guys.
Well, and he's in the phase of his career where it is about him.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Like when I was in my mid-20s, it was about me too.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to take everything with a grain of salt. He's fighting my guy Jeff, you know, and you know, we'll just leave that.
Yeah,
as
I
it
just
is.
mean in terms of so for me.
But what I'm saying, I don't take things personally when I see these fighters doing that because of where they are in life, right?
Yeah.
No matter what. And I mean, not directed towards me, but even I tell my guys, hey, this guy, he's a kid, you know? Why don't you use that, him being a kid, and exploit that? Because you know that in his mind, right, he cares what other people think. I mean, he's obviously explaining it. So it's not easy for these guys, man,
Right.
to grow up in front of the cameras. And you look at Jeff, he's about as quiet as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he don't say shit. But the fans still love him because he brings the violence. But, you know, there is something to that talking, you know, to the public. So it's a really fine line, I think, that these guys have to dance. But again, look at what happened with that situation. It seemed to really bother him, you know. Letting things bother you and affect you that have to do with people you don't know, never spoken to in your life, letting them reach out and touch you and it affecting your emotional state. I mean, that's just so unhealthy, just in general.
I think for me it was a big the biggest aspect was like you have to go back to what's important to you and what you were chasing in the first place.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just like, what did I really want to do? I wanted to be a sports broadcaster that maybe could one day be on ESPN. And now I'm freaking on ESPN. And I have a network job and I call, you know, UFC fights and some big stuff. And now all of a sudden, this is important to me, my YouTube
That's what
channel,
I'm
and
saying.
getting 1,000 subscribers
You're
here and
down-
trying to like break through to virality and get more followers or
You're
whatever.
right.
I'm just like,
You're
drop
downgrading.
that.
Yeah.
This is the good.
You're downgrading yourself because, and this is the thing.
Not that I'm going to quit it completely, but
hear
just
me
to
out.
like put
As
my
we do
focus
the,
where it's good.
yeah,
You know?
as we do the podcast.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm saying though. We do this because we like fucking shooting the shit.
Right.
That's all it is. You know, we do the show. We're boys, right? So here's what I would tell you. I would say this, right? It used to be to get on TV, you had to kind of be fucking special. There was only 3 channels, you know, and if you were on there, you were probably pretty damn talented at whatever it was, whether it was, you know, gymnastics, whether, you know, you were a figure skater, whatever, you know, there was only 3 channels, man. So it was a big deal. I don't even know how many channels there are now, how many streaming platforms.
What's a channel?
There is, yeah.
You don't even know.
You don't got to be special to be on a channel anymore.
Nope.
But you do got to be special to be at the very highest level of what you do, no matter what that is, whether it's the Olympics in figure skating, whether it's whatever. I respect the highest level, chefs, anything, whatever you do. If you do it at the highest level, hats off to you. Any job, I don't care what it is, that speaks to who you are, right? How you do one thing is how you do everything. You're at the highest level. You just got done saying, you literally accomplished your dreams. I watch you and I'm like, man, you're good, you know? You just got to see it from a different viewpoint sometimes, I think, perspective. Yeah. And again, it just happens organically with age. And it's just something that I think is the trade-off of life, right? You know, you might not be as good looking, you might not have as much hair, but if you're happy with who you are and you've got peace in your heart, I mean, how much is that worth?
Yeah. Here's a quote from Ego is the Enemy. The farther you travel down that path of accomplishment, whatever it may be, the more often you meet other successful people who make you feel insignificant. And like, not that I feel insignificant, but that's a real thing where I don't feel insignificant, but I'm not on ESPN and have an amazing platform and have hundreds of I mean, and I know other people that do. So that's like kind of the trap that you can get yourself into.
I think that's just the grinder in you wanting to be the best version.
Well, if you're a striver to make it to a certain
100%.
level, you're
Why
going to
not
meet
go to the
other
next
ones
level?
that are going. Yeah.
And I love all that,
but I can go to the next level without splintering.
100%.
That's actually what will allow me to thrive.
Again, who's watching on YouTube?
Yeah, I know.
Like who are we assigning value to?
Mm-hmm.
Who are we assigning value to? You're assigning value to some 14-year-old, right? Who like just wants to write shithead, like, you know, like Like,
Right.
you've got to look at it for what it is. And again, in this new landscape of the internet and streaming platforms, I think we're all finding our footing on, what we value and what we don't value. But, and I'm not just telling you this because you're my friend, but like when I see you in your field, I'm like wowed by it, right? So I think if you just remember that, like if you're great at one thing in life, that's pretty awesome because a lot of people aren't good at anything, Brendan. So I think that it's all perspective based. And I think that's really speaks to that book as well. It all really is about your perspective.
So yeah, there's a couple things too where it's like I can like point to, to borrow a phrase that doesn't really accurately describe it, but like a little PTSD, post-traumatic stress from when I got laid off by ESPN.
Yeah.
So I keep, that's like probably more top of mind than it should be. And then not now, but it was for a while.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was early in the pandemic, and I just go, everyone's going to lose their jobs. I was like, everyone's going to get fired from everything. What do I have? I was like, look at Joe Rogan. He's not going to get fired because he can sit in a studio and talk to whoever, and he's got his own thing.
Yeah.
So let me build my own thing so that I'm proof to whatever happens out externally. And there's some good parts to that. But now I'm just like, gosh, I'm on ESPN. Like I got a resume now where I think I'm going to be okay.
Let me give you the flip side.
And so I don't have to like burn the candle at all
at both
ends
with
to
your
like
new kids.
with,
Yeah.
2 young kids, whatever. Just be like, dude, you're on, you got, it's a good thing. Work at it.
Let me give you some perspective. Okay. Being your own boss, right? I've own my own gym. Everyone knows that. I manage all my guys, pretty much all of them. I do things a little bit differently. Darren owns only 10% of the gym. So people are like, oh, it's Darren Williams. Darren owns 10%, bought it at the very end. So being your own boss is a 24-hour, 7 days a week job. You can never turn off your brain. You can never just go home and shut it down. It's constant. If you see the text messages on my phone from during the show, about the mats and about the AC and about this and it's raining and this and that, and like it's a cluster, you know what. And you start to think, I would not do it any other way. This was my vision. Nobody can fire me, right? I'm that guy, like I have all that going on. But that comes with a price as well.
Yes.
There's a trade-off there.
Right.
And it's a painful one. Now, once you've acclimated to that, I don't think it's easy to go back. But I will say that like nothing in life is free. Everything is a trade-off. And I see guys that sell their company now, and I've had many offers on the gym already. And they sell it, right? And then they go, I'd rather just work for someone else. Like I don't want to actually have to worry about everything. I'm not in that place myself, but I can understand it now. And I'm only 43. So like, you're always living and learning, man. And the grass is always greener on the other side. And you said at the very beginning, your dream was to work on ESPN. What do? You work on ESPN.
Yep.
Your dream wasn't to be a YouTuber.
Nope.
So I just think that sometimes we just have to really be appreciative and grateful and thankful for what we have. I think it's a bigger deal to be on a platform that's established,
Of course.
than it is to make your own platform, because 14-year-old kids have their own platform with 3 million viewers, right? I walk in the house and my little daughter's watching these, what's that guy's name? Mr. Beast.
Oh, I mean, I do tip my hat to people
Mr.
that
Beast.
build audiences like that.
Mr.
I'm like,
Beast,
it
this-
is quite something to really start
Incredible.
with a phone and kind of turn your way into
This
an
guy's
media
giving away
empire,
cars and shit. And I'm like to the girls, what is this? They're like, it's Mr. Beast, Dad. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know?
Dude, he had a Halloween candy this year.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not hating on anybody's game.
Yeah.
It's just a different generation.
Well,
It's
and also
timing.
like when you start wanting to, the possibilities are endless. I could have a Fitz Nation freaking whatever, right?
dude.
And it's like, but at what point do you
That's
have
it.
to like just be like, dude, you can't do
It's all
all the time.
perspective based. And I think you've got to have a mission and you got to stay on your mission. My mission was to have my own, gym, to make it the best team in the world, to have UFC champion, like all these things, were dreams. That was your mission. Your mission was ESPN. So I think when you stay on mission, it's a lot easier to not get sidetracked by looking around and seeing what everyone else is doing.
Last question. Do you have any New Year's focuses? I don't really like resolutions because to me it's like a code word for I'm not going to do this. I'm going to, have willpower until, the second week of February, if that. But like, do you have like a focus on the new year?
Back to what I was telling you, I do everything by birthdays. So I always try to reflect on like
September
5th, baby. What did I get done at 42? Well, last year this time, in a couple weeks, I was standing in Rio de Janeiro with Brandon Moreno, and unifying the belt, undisputed champion in that quadrilogy, huge fight, and exciting for me. First belt I ever won. Huge accomplishment, a lifelong goal that I have sought out for since being a little kid. Who doesn't want to say that they
be involved in a championship?
And for me, I never wanted to do it as a fighter, because I always felt like this was the road for me. My dad is a coach, my brother's a teacher. Even though I was, an athlete my whole life, I always wanted to do this part. Again, going back to being the boss. So this was always the vision I had it in as a coach. So huge accomplishment at 42. The show has been amazing. It wasn't something that I saw on my vision, but amazing. UFC breakdown.
Yeah.
It's all about the Fitz, man, right? Like, we have fun.
It's all about you.
We have fun.
I like I know I don't read the comments often, but I do.
The camera on Curtis.
I do like some of them because they glow about you, and then some of them, they do give me credit, and some of them call it for what it really is. They're just like, why is Brendan even there?
That's not true, though.
No, I know, but they're kind of like, Brendan's
to our audience. I could never just talk to talk.
I've tried to do solos.
It's just not.
Very tough
It's just
to
not
do
the
it.
same.
It feels a lot more natural to talk.
And
to
me and
somebody.
you, we're boys. We've had that chemistry since we very first met. Like, you're just easy to talk to. So, that was great.
So at 43, you kind of have this measuring stick of like, what am I going to accomplish?
What did I accomplish? Now, we got to get the belt back. We got to give credit to Pantoja. Let's get some of these other guys tracking towards the title. I've got a few fighters, a girl too, that I think can really actually, do some great things. So it's kind of a calibration, right? I look at where I'm at, what I accomplished, and what I want to accomplish at 43. Well, that's a pretty big mountain to climb. 42 was
champion.
Yeah, the highest.
Champ.
So now I got to do something even better. And so I always kind of try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
How do I make the year of 43 even better? How do I, save as much money as I can, pay off your mortgage, do this, do that, get your.
How am I going to level up?
How am I going to level up, man? How am I going to
at this age
improve myself every day? Physically, I've been working out a lot. We talked about the rucking. I've been running and doing crazy shit, out at the ranch. Trail runs, like incline, just like on New Year's Eve, I was like out there just grinding my ass off in the woods, just like looking around, like breathing heavy. I'm like, all right, this is how I'm bringing in the new year. Like,
yeah.
It's just all a mindset. But again, man, life's depressing if you don't make it fun.
Yep.
It is. You're just getting older, right?
Right.
It's more stress. You got to pay all the bills, and you're like, oh, here we go again. You got to keep the motor going, and you got to make it fun. So, just looking to be better, man, and at 43 years old in 2024, and improve in every facet.
I want to tell a quick story and we'll be done. I feel like I got a hit of perspective kind of out of nowhere. Like, I didn't expect to get it here, but I did. When I went to the MMA Awards in December.
Yeah.
Never had been to the MMA Awards because it wasn't really nominated or whatever.
Yeah.
And Dana White's Contender Series won for best MMA
Oh,
program.
really?
Yeah. So Zach, our boss, and wanted to bring our whole crew. Lappy was there, and he was just like, I want you guys to come up on stage too, like this is like the show we've been doing for 7 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so it was cool that, go to the awards, but then as I'm sitting there and like, wait, we know we won basically, but I'm like, it's not about this.
No.
I was like, it's way more fun to like prepare for the show and then to meet on Tuesday and then to go out and do the show. I'm just like, wow, the joy is really in the work.
In the journey, man.
Because, my wife came and then we're just like, okay, go up on stage, and Dana was backstage. So we took a picture with Dana and like, it was
Dana's always
right.
winning.
But it was quick. And then I'm just like, okay, I think we can go home now. Because we our son has school tomorrow morning.
No, it's a good deal. I went there last year. They put on a
it's
class act.
cool. Like, you think you want the recognition and that like the trophies are what it's about, whatever. And I'm just like,
it's the journey.
I'm looking around. I'm just like, this is all right, but
it's the journey.
A few bad jokes by Chael Sonnen and then a trophy, and then it's like, let's go to the work part.
The funny thing is, and I'll end with this. It's like, and again, perspective. I've enjoyed this last 3 months in the gym more than I enjoyed traveling and going to the fights. And the work is done in the gym, right? It's that process, that journey. The fight is just the cherry on top, right? For the athlete to show all the hard work they've been putting in. So it's the behind the scenes, man. It's like you said, it's the behind the scenes hard work that you put in that gives you joy. And we go back to saying you got to stay busy, you got to stay in motion, you've got to continue to work hard in life and keep improving, because that's what gives you that real satisfaction inside your heart. That's what really you reflected on. You're like, actually, I'm just really happy with the journey, the actual journey. So sometimes we get caught up and we forget about what our mission is.
Yeah.
And you're living your dreams, man. I mean, congratulations. You're living your dreams
Thank
right
you.
now.
Yep.
And you just kind of did a little mental inventory, and I mean, you said it very clearly. You're doing exactly what you wanted to do. How many people can say that in their lives? So I always love seeing people live their dreams. Like I was watching the game last night, Michigan won, Harbaugh's hugging his dad, and like I'm sitting there like clapping in the hotel room, like because I just hard work, man, you know, and it's like that was his journey, right? And it's just good to see people succeed and live their dreams. That always really brings me a lot of joy. And I think if we all live that way, whether we were completely happy or not, the world would just be a lot better place.
Well said, Sayif. Another great chat.
Thank you very much, sir.
Curtis, thanks for running the board.
My man.
Our guy, we're going to get Curtis on,
Gotta get Curtis
camera
on.
one day. Thanks for watching Fitz Nation, and we'll see you next time.